Rev up your engines!
Here's an interesting fact. People are comparing the cost of electric vehicle versus gasoline, and it might surprise you quite a bit. Because if you add the cost of everything, the charger and peripheral costs, it costs you about $12.95 on electricity to go 100 miles. Well, if you got a modern car that got 33 miles a gallon, it would cost you $8.58 to drive 100 miles. You know, they're always touting this thing that electricity is cheaper. Not necessarily. There is a lack of chargers out there, right? So a lot of the charging you're going to be doing at your house. Did you get the equipment for free? No, you had to pay for it. And of course, a lot of this depends on what you pay for your electricity all over the place. A lot of people say, oh, electric cars are things for the city, the future, right? Well, in most big cities, the electric utility companies charge an awful lot of money for electricity. So it's going to cost you more than some of these averages. They average it all over the country. I know in California, the price of gasoline for cars is infinitely higher than it is, say, in Tennessee. Sometimes it's $1, $2 a gallon more in California than it is in Tennessee. So a lot of this stuff's going to depend on where you live, how much they charge you for electricity, but it's not as cheap as you think. Everybody looks at the superficial and said, well, my electric car, it only used $8 of electricity. You're not putting all the ancillary charges, how much you pay for the charger, what your electric rate's like at your house. Are there any charging stations near you? So if you get stranded, you got to charge it up. You know, most people don't take any of that into consideration. You got to look at the overall picture. They're not as cheap to run as you might think. And of course, we all know how the government goes. If people did start switching to electricity on cars, you know, they start taxing the electricity more. Originally, gasoline didn't have that much tax on it, but then they added road tax to it. Well, don't think they won't add road tax to electric cars. Somebody's got to pay to fix the roads, and it was our gasoline tax that paid for it. And if they get rid of that, well, guess what? They'll be taxing the electricity, and the price will go even higher. No one ever looks at the overall picture. You know, I am. Realize that things are not as they seem. It may be cheap now, but if everybody starts using it, they're going to start taxing it. They got to pay for the roads. Somebody's got to fix the roads. Roads stink as it is, and if people don't pay the road tax, the roads will be even worse shape. They won't fix them up. So don't think that this cheap, superficial idea of electricity, it's cheaper, it's better. No, you know they're going to tax the heck out of it if people even start using it in mass. There'll be a little thing on your electric bill, road service tax or something like that, you know? Just like you look at your phone bill, it'd be all these add-ons, and it might be $15 add-on for things you don't even know what it means. It's just tax. They just want to tax, and they'll certainly do that if they switch to electricity. Well, there's a rumor going out there that Toyota is going to get tie-ins with Porsche to bring back out the Toyota MR2. Of course, realize the Toyota Supra is just a rebadged BMW, and their other little sports car, the Toyota 86, is basically a Subaru. Subaru makes them in the Subaru factory, just like BMW makes the Supras in a BMW factory. You know, it has nothing to do with the Toyota factory whatsoever. If they bring back the MR2, they're doing a deal with Porsche, so it would actually be a Porsche with a Toyota logo on it. Toyota's not stupid. They're not going to put all this research and development into a car, and they don't sell that many sports cars. Sports cars are not that popular volume-wise. Maybe they decide, hey, we did it with 2, why not make it Magic 3? They can have a BMW, a Subaru, and a Porsche and call them Toyotas. But it would be a relatively cheap Porsche because it's going to start at 6 million yen. Well, that may sound like a lot, but that's $52,700, which is peanut money for a Porsche, so it would be a lower end one if they do make it. It's in the rumor mill now. Kind of wouldn't surprise me, you know, they did it with 2 others, and I guess they figured, well, we had a sports car out there with their name on it. Oh, isn't that cute and fancy, even though it has nothing to do with Toyota itself? One side, they're all talking about electrification, but then they're talking about sports cars. And a Corvette just came out with a new 600 and something horsepower engine in there. So they're playing both ends to the middle here, I guess. I don't know. If you're an MR2 fan and you want to get a fake MR2, maybe they're going to make them with Porsche. We'll find out in the future. People say that Porsche is the one that they're talking to about making an MR2. All right, General Motors. You know, they're touting they're going to be all electrified, all that stuff. They're actually unveiling their new high-performance Corvette Z06, a very powerful engine. It's not supercharged, turbocharged, it's naturally aspirated. It's going to have 670 horsepower, naturally aspirated. No turbo, no supercharger. GM's calling it the most powerful production engine of its kind ever made. Now, this is a track setup car. That kind of horsepower, driving on the street, you're going to spin all over the place. It's too much power for the street, but they're making them for actual track use. That's what people complain about the earlier mid-engine Corvettes, is that they didn't have enough horsepower for the track. Well, this one certainly will. Now, they're not saying the exact price, but they say it's going to be so much percentage higher than the others. It's probably started about $86,400. powered up. It's going to be a 2023. And they're going to have a hardtop convertible edition of it too. Check out the picture, it's cool. They're going to have like those little louvers behind the driver and the passenger, like in those old Jaguar race cars that they had in the 60s. They say it's going to go 0 to 60 in 2.6 seconds. But interestingly enough, I had a customer with the first mid-engine Corvette, and he went 2.5. He showed me on his computer. He went 0 to 60 in 2.5, so doesn't seem like it's faster. Now, the Z06, the previous one, was about 30% of their sales, so they're selling a reasonable amount of these things. And of course, everybody's thinking, oh, they're going to electrify the Corvette and they'll have an E-Ray, an electric Stingray. But as it stands now, well over 600 horsepower. So those of you who complain that the previous one didn't have enough horsepower, it's just a plain V8 engine, well, you can be happy and spend probably by the time they add all the add-ons over 100 grand if you got that kind of money lying in your pocket. Here's one I can't help but laugh at. Land Rover CEO admits they've lost over 100,000 sales last year because of quality controls with their cars. The newly appointed chief executive Jaguar Land Rover says, we're getting better, but we lost 100,000 sales last year from poor quality control. Come on now. Everybody knows Jaguar Land Rover are one of the worst quality control companies in the world. It's so bad that in communist China, people that bought their cars actually went en masse and complained at their headquarters there that the quality of their vehicles were horrible. This is a communist country where people are complaining about the quality. So the guy says, this is a missed opportunity for us. We missed out on 100,000 healthy sales. I guess this guy's had his head in the sand for years. Everybody knows Jaguar Land Rover. Their quality control has been crap since the 1960s. The facts stand out. They average 244 problems per 100 vehicles. The average is less than half that, and that's the average. So they're really doing horrendous with it. And of course, but people don't even go further. As they age, they're even worse, and they have even more problems. And they're not cheap problems either. They're expensive problems. Transmissions, engines, electronics. So this new CEO says their future models will be simpler and have less problems. Come on now. No car's getting simpler. They're all getting more complex. This guy is just a BS artist, obviously. They're not going to be making these cars simpler. They're making them more complex with all the computer controls on it. It's just absurd. And their CEO comes out with some more baloney. He says, our warranty costs have gone down of what we spent on warranty. We're quite, yeah, because they probably didn't fix the stuff under warranty. And they said, well, that's not covered under warranty. People rearranging the furniture on the deck of a sinking ship. Look, that looks pretty good over there. Wait a second. The ship's listing more to stern. We'll move the furniture on the other side then. Well, if you checked out the newly designed Subaru BRZ, that's the same one that Toyota's selling as their sports car. It has taken some radical transformation. You look at it, people look at it and say, that's a Subaru? And because it doesn't look like a Subaru. It's a futuristic, cool-looking car. But it isn't just what it looks like. It's got a lot more performance. Understand, this is a car that's listed at under $30,000. They bumped up the 4-cylinder boxer engine to 228 horsepower, and this is with no turbo, no supercharger, naturally aspirated, so it's going to last longer. And they corner like a dream. That was the whole reason for the boxer engine. It's flat, it's slung low down, so the engine can be lower to the ground. If you got more weight, mass lower to the ground, it's going to handle better. All race cars are way low to the ground so they can handle well. If you want a sports car that handles well, hey, you might want to try one of these things out. But of course, on the other hand, if you want a car that rides good, stay away from these things. They ride like go-karts. They're low and they got racing suspension. They really corner well. But if you want a smooth ride, you don't want to buy one of these cars. But that's not what they're for. They're under 30 for a sports car that's fun to drive around in. It's got a lot of cornering, and with the 228 horsepower for a small car like that, it's plenty of power to get it around. The main thing is, everyone understands about sports cars these days is that they're not that popular. They only sell a limited amount. It's not like they're making these for the masses. They're making a limited amount of sports cars for people who want to buy a sports car. Now, one of their sales things is, hey, somebody wants a sports car. A lot of people, oh, the Mazda Miatas are cute, but they only got 2 seats. This thing has 4 seats. And there's enough room in the back seat. Not for giant people, but for regular sized people. Fine to zip around in, but you can also have people in the back have a decent trunk and stuff. It's not tiny like a Mazda Miata. Basically in the same price range, too. Realize that Subaru only sold 2,200 of these things in the United States in 2020, and so far in 2021, they've only sold 722 of them. So this isn't a big mass market thing, right? Which kind of makes sense of why Toyota's not even building their own. Let Subaru build them. We'll call them a Toyota 86. They don't sell that many of them. Hey, this thing should be fun to drive around in, and they really upgraded the engine, and they really are cool-looking cars. It's not that bad of an idea. Like I say, it's not mass marketed. They're not making all that many of them. It won't be that hard for them to sell them. It's a smaller market. So if you never want to miss another one of my new car repair videos, remember to ring that bell.